Iko Nini. So kuna vile hii story za protest imekuwa ikileta shida sana. So kuna vile last week Murkomen alisema that protesters wanafaa kushutiwa. And in the process vile alisema hivyo, of course kulikuwa na this like bullshit statement from Raila. Raila alikuwa, shame on you, you should not encourage taking away of life in a way which is not constitutional. If somebody has committed a crime, that person should be subjected to the law. So hii statement ya Raila nasema ni empty cause the only reason why the government is this confident na hizi killings is because ODM is in government. Otherwise, if ODM had stayed with the people, this government would be gone because impeaching Ruto would be super easy. ODM waki cross over to the other side, alafu tayari unajua mlima tayari haiko na umse, alafu unajua like the rest of Kenya, ama politicians they go with the wave. So nzabaki wamecheki vile the wave inasema umse anafaa kuishia na anaweza kuwa impeached. It will be like the first Kenyan president to be impeached. But the only reason he can't be impeached is because of ODM. So now we can't take this nonsense.
You witnessed a lot of bloodshed in the country recently. Children, people who went out to demonstrate, some of them died. Some of them died, some of them shot by the police officers. Because they are criminals who came out to do deliberate destruction of property. Those ones we could condemn in the strongest terms possible. But the same breath, we must also censor the police. The police should never ever shoot to kill. Police have no license to kill human beings. If somebody has committed a crime, arrest that person and take him before a court of law, charge him. So anybody giving instruction to a police officer that, oh, kama mtu na karibia police station, piga risasi. My shame. Shame on you.
So ilikuwa new statement nikanaambia Murkomen, shame on you. And the reason why nasema these are empty words is the only reason why Murkomen has the confidence to say this is because ODM is in the government. So he feels like they can get away with this. But apart from getting away with this, what was also interesting is igava ilikaa chini na ikabaki imeamua that they're going to change the laws around protests. And basically what they want to do is, because tumehurt feelings za Ruto, now we are supposed to change a whole constitution so that we never hurt his feelings again. And this is one of the reasons why I was so feeling nika umsanta to stay in power forever. Because these stories are must go zime happen. It happened time ya Kibaki, as I keep saying. Zika happen time ya Uhuru. Asa hizi na happen time ya Ruto. Time ya Kibaki, I never had at any point watu wakisema let's change the constitution so that people can't protest. Time ya Uhuru, ile time akitumia hata wale mafala walikuwa wanatokea tao, we are the Nairobi business community. Hata hizo raya zikitokea kwa tao, there was no point where it was like let's change the constitution and stop protests. But right now, kulikuwa na story ilikuwa rain on NTV. So acha tusikize.
Now it is a proposal that first sparked debate last year, and now it's back in the spotlight. The Assembly and Demonstration Bill of 2024 is what the government is banking on to tighten control over public protests following weeks of the Gen Z-led demonstrations. Critics warn that the bill could make spontaneous demos a thing of the past. And TV's David Mudhoka now delves into the proposed law and tells us what the public protest regulations will entail.
So he bill, the first person to actually propose it, ni Ruto. So, and one of the things wanasema that's going to be in the bill is, lazima mbaki umeregister, museme mnaenda kuprotest, alafu after kuregister, the leaders of the protest have to write down their names, and after they write down their names, they have to bring the placards. Zile placards mnaenda kuweka kwa streets zitakuwa zimewekwa nini. So this means amwezi weka Ruto must go, na sayo umeenda kuprotest about something else. You know, these are impossible things to come up with. Alafu, at if there is any damage, then the guys who organize the protest are going to be the ones arrested. If people end up doing something they're not supposed to do, then you're going to be either being fined 100,000 or 12 months in jail. So, how practical is this? Let's say 100,000 people show up with Ruto must go. Utachukua hawa 100,000 wapeleke jela ama utafanyaje? But wacha tusikize upuzi.
After months of public anger spilling onto the streets, attention is now shifting to the legislation the state hopes will contain it.
We will have a conversation with the judiciary and all the other actors, members of parliament. I think it is time we have a law that will regulate how we carry out demonstrations in Kenya.
Achiki. So the guy who we are protesting against is saying that we need to have a law that regulates demonstrations in Kenya. And as you know, ODM might end up supporting this. Don't be surprised. And before sikuwa na understand, like I used to look at people like akina Lai na shindwa kwa nini. Then of course nikachekia Lai iko na a land grabbing case. Ruto has had land grabbing cases. So these people feel like under this sort of regime, they can survive. Najua, you can wake up as an MCA and decide you have a piece of land in Runda. And it's okay. As long as you support the president is going to support your illegality. And this is things zinafanyaga Ruto anakuwa more unpopular. Like this dude, I know you're trying to hang on to power. But the last thing that you need is, sio wenyewe tunakuitaga rap mashamba. Now you want to bring another wood mashamba. Okay, Arab mashamba ni, si Arab ni son of. So nataka kuleta wood mashamba, umuongeze kwa Arab mashamba. This is a problem. You are just going to continue being unpopular. So, this law, you're regulating protests. It's not going to make you popular. The people who are protesting out there do not care about your laws. And the reason why they don't care about your laws is the fact that you do not care about the law. That's why people are allowed to protest, but you never allow people to protest. So, hata hizi laws, they are funny because everything that they are saying, they want to put into law, they already do, and it's against the law. So, alafu unasikia hiyo place anasema, we'll talk to the judiciary. So, this is now trying to twist the judiciary for the judiciary to enforce this illegality.
The Assembly and Demonstration Bill 2024 seeks to reshape how Kenyans exercise their constitutional right to protest and introduce firm legal limits.
We must protect the right of those who want to demonstrate, picket, and protest. But equally, we must also protect the right of those who don't want to participate in the demonstration. They want to go about their business. They want to go to work.
The bill requires protest organizers to give between 3 to 14 days notice. And given notice isn't enough, you must include specific detailed information. Clause 5.3 lists what organizers must submit in writing, including their full name and address, the date and time of the protest, the location and route, the number of expected participants, and even the exact slogans and placards to be used.
Achikio, yo pumbavu. Unakumbuka the first protest ilikuwa very interesting. In the protest, wasa walikuwa wanatumia kile kipuppet cha XYZ. Ufuwa sana kitandika coffee. Nakumbuka hizo siku. So, kutokea na vitu kama hizo itakuwa against the law. Kutokea na hizi vitu, najua hizi vitu wasa uziandikaga. So, you never know what people are going to show up with. Kulikuwa na ile free DD J Lagat, for example. Kuna time ingine pia ilikuwa think ni, ama Ruto ni mwenda wazimu. You know all this stuff. This is stuff that people just come up with. And for you to think that people are going to be telling you the things that people are going to come up with and carry. And even apart from that, easy chance. They get new every day. Ruto must go. Mwizi. Ruto must go. Mwizi. Ruto must go. One time. Ruto must go. One time. Ama ni Kasongo. One time. You can never predict all these things and what's going to happen. And now to threaten people ati itabidi wa jail. Lazima they have to give 3 to 14 days notice. And the funny thing is, the party that might end up approving this is ODM. ODM wagama clowns. And the reason why I call them clowns is the Kenya's history metuonyesha so far presidents na deputies wanakosana. So I think wamekuwa promised, I think Gladys Wanga will be the deputy. So as soon as Ruto gets his second term, he's not going to owe Gladys Wanga shit. He's going to tell her, fuck off. Then what happens? Amwezi enda kwa streets because you've approved a law. And ausamaga that you should always think of the laws and how they'd affect you if you are outside power. Just because uko hapo does not mean that you need to approve these things. ODM has been the party of demonstrations. Now all of a sudden they want to be anti-demonstrations. Why? Because this time the demonstrations have no tribal element. And as I keep saying, without tribal element, the whole political system collapses. So this is the reason why ODM might be thinking of making this law pass.
And if the protest goes ahead without notifying police, the penalties are clear. Clause 18 of the bill states, a person who fails to notify the regulating officer as required under this act commits an offence and shall be liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 100,000 shillings or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 12 months or to both. In simple terms, spontaneous protests would become criminal acts punishable by a fine, a year in jail, or both.
So, as I keep asking, if 300,000 people show up, are you going to jail all of them? Like, which police stations are these you're going to use? How are you going to arrest them? Do you have as many handcuffs? What's going to happen to the prison system? So what are you planning to do? The youth are against you. It's a whole generation of Gen Zs. These are millions of people. Do you plan to jail all of them? Do you plan to use Murkomen's way and just shoot indiscriminately and then justify that they were looters while we know that the real looters are backed by the government? Like, how is this supposed to work? These are bullshit laws, and any judiciary worth its salt haitakubali nonsense. Hii nonsense hata kipita kwa the legislative arm, because the legislative arm has these clowns, and these clowns hizi ni zile zinatembeaga zikisema mimi ng'ombe ya Raila, mimi ng'ombe ya wote. Hufai kuwa ng'ombe ya mtu. You're supposed to be a human being, and you're supposed to have your own sort of reasoning. This nonsense that there is one person who knows everything. Najuaga me my views on that, from life coaches to all these bullshit coaches. No one knows everything. Even Raila does not know everything. If he knew everything, he'd have been president by now. You can't cry about rigging every time. It means you don't know shit. At some point lazima ujipange. So the fact hako anajipanga hiyo ni yake. So for this party that claims to support democracy to be part of this nonsense.
Police officers, now officially referred to as regulating officers, will gain broad powers to control protests. According to Clause 7, they may, and I quote, impose such conditions and restrictions as they may deem necessary for the maintenance of public order, safety, and protection of rights. That means officers can change protest routes, limit attendance, restrict banners, or shut down a protest entirely.
But that's what they've been doing. They limit attendance, they block routes, they, like, hakuna kitu hapa ile hakufanya. Kumbuka by Wednesday, by 8 a.m. they'd blocked routes. There are a lot of places that people could not go to. That's why I'm saying, like, when you look at this bill, you just see bullshit, because already everything they're trying to put on paper is something that they do. So I wonder why they feel like if they put it on paper now it's going to be. This is just trying to intimidate our protesters. And one thing that I know is these protesters won't be intimidated. One thing ile kitu najua ni watu wamechoka. Punda amechoka. Hakuna vile even apart from punda hata kuna soldiers. Nisichiki soldiers wanafaa kwanza kulipia chakula yao. Sasa hiyo state house repairs zinaendelea. Like, what sort of nonsense is this?
If they believe it may disrupt public order, the threshold, perception, not proof. The bill also shifts the burden of responsibility directly onto protests organizers. Clause 10 states, and I quote, an organizer shall be personally liable for any loss or damage caused during the assembly, demonstration, or picketing. That means even if chaos is caused by infiltrators, rogue actors, or unrelated individuals, organizers still carry the legal blame.
So, unacheki hapo. So, unakumbuka Sakaja alihire goons. Ilikuwa, was it last week but one? Yes, Sakaja on the 17th. Sakaja hired goons. And these goons ended up looting shops. They ended up beating up people. They ended up, robbing and all that. Now, the organizers of that protest are the ones who are supposed to be held liable for what politicians are going to do. Because what the politicians are going to do is, with the backing of the government, they're going to unleash goons and make all these goons rob stores and that, and then innocent Kenyans who are just protesting about something else will be held liable. As I keep saying, the only way this can pass is because of ODM. But wacha tuendelee.
Beyond police powers, the bill also extends sweeping authority to the executive. Clause 21 states, and I quote, "The Cabinet Secretary may make regulations for the better carrying out of this act. In practice, that gives the Interior Cabinet Secretary power to create new protest rules without parliamentary approval, a move that is likely to weaken oversight while at the same time centralizing control." The bill will repeal sections of the Public Order Act and set new legal ground rules for assemblies, demonstrations, and picketing. While to government, including to the bill's sponsor, Public Service Cabinet Secretary Geoffrey Ruku, it's about order. To critics, it's about control.
It is the response.
This is about control. And it's very interesting that a president decides the SESCO is unpopular. Now we are supposed to change a whole constitution just to guard his ego, because his fragile ego. Because hii kitu inakuwaga simple. A lot of critics wa Ruto wamekuwa online, and the first thing that he needed to do was log off. Will they go to the streets once in a while? Yes, they'll go to the streets. But most of the time, the criticism is online. And now for you to try to come up with all these rules, that's personal liability, personal what, and to then tell the police that even if they killed 5 people, 10 people, hakuna shida, because that's what Murkomen was saying. Na Murkomen alisema, these rules zimetoka from above, is to start courting chaos. What's going to happen is, when people want change, they want change. And kuna kitu moja ile nilibonga juu yake ile nilikuwa nasema, there's a reason why politicians call people kids. Because ever since they were adults, in quotes, like ever since they were hapo 24 after kumaliza campo, they've never been broke. So when they look at 30-year-olds and 34-year-olds who are still broke, they look at them as watoto wetu, and they don't understand. And then they also don't understand how these so-called kids stroke adults can be so angry that they are ready to risk life and limb just to get change. So this is the limits that they don't understand, that even coming up with such a rule will not help them. If the people are angry and the people want change, they want change. You can't threaten them with violence and make them retreat. They are still going to come out. So hii law haitasaidia chochote. Hata ikipita haitasaidia chochote. And if there is a court that ends up jailing someone for protesting, that will also be interesting. But on another note, ODM clowns.
Control.
It is the responsibility that is on my shoulders now. And I want to assure this nation, I will do the best that I can to protect everybody.
Na usije ukafikiria ya kwamba wakati Kenya inaharibika, wewe utakuwa na Kenya yako ati ambayo iko sawa sawa. Kenya ikiharibika, tunaharibikwa sisi zote.
Ndio statement pia ni bambaga sana. Hiyo aswa kibongajia Kenya ikiharibika itaharibikia watu sisi wote. I don't refuse, I don't dispute that. But there's a difference. If you're living somewhere in Karen na Kenya iharibike, Kenya imeharibika. If you're living in a slum na Kenya iharibike, Kenya ijaharibika. Unajua, your life was still hell. And nakunga majuzi tuko kwa live show, kuna boy alitry kunicorrect vile nisema that unemployment rate ya Kenya ni over 60%. Kuna boy akatry kunicorrect hapo. And the funny thing about it is, I think someone else ended up sending me the statistic, and the statistic was, yes, unemployment rate ya Kenya ni over 60%. I think hata ilionyesha, I think it was over 65%. Yes, ilikuwa ni, according to fr.statistics.com, the employment rate in Kenya, the share of working age population aged 15 to 64 who are currently employed, okay, projected to be around 65.8%. So that's the employment rate. So it means unemployment rate ni 34.2, which is still nonsense. This is nonsense. According to me, the unemployment rate is much, much higher. There's a lot of Kenyans who are jobless. And let's say it's even 34.8. 34.8 means a third of the population. That means that for every 3 people, only 2 have a job, there's 1 without a job. That's for every 3 people. 1 person does not have a job. That's not sustainable. But this is also a according to me, this is not real. Because I walk around and I see there's a lot of Kenyans who do not have jobs. And these Kenyans have time on their hands. And these Kenyans are ready to risk it all. And this is the same thing about, let's even say it's evil, William Ruto, a third. So it means that a third of Kenyans don't have jobs. And the ones that have jobs, utapata kuna wale wanalipwa less than minimum wage. Ama vile siku hizi inaitangwa living wage. So they can't even live with the money that they have. This means that those sort of people, if they are asked to come to the streets, they're going to come to the streets. So hizi stories are kutry to come up with laws that are supposed to safeguard you. And then you show up here telling us if Kenya gets destroyed, we all get destroyed. No, we don't. You're a billionaire, you're a trillionaire. Your life is soft. Nyinyi watu mnatembeaga hapa with your 200,000 shilling shoes and your like $1 million watches ama whatever watches. Mnatembea nazo ma Richard Mille and all that nonsense. You have that. If Kenya gets destroyed, you might escape and leave that behind. Of course, for you, that will be devastating. But for other people who are poor, they'll be like, let's reset the whole system. So you're the one who brought us here. And you can change course. Don't think of how to suppress voices. Think of how to listen to them. Like what is happening. A lot of us are very reasonable people. So we can be swayed. We can be swayed with true change. We can be swayed with seeing stuff happening. And this swaying might at least make you finish your next 2 years in peace. And to start thumping your chest that everyone gets 10 years and what. These ndio vitu zote zinakasirisha watu. Kuzinaonyesha watu pia that elections are not necessary. Because you have to get your 10 years. Whether people want you or people don't want you, you have to get your 10 years. So all this nonsense. Sasa mnasema mnataka control protest. How are you going to control angry people? Using violence? Is that what you're going to do?
Those who are agitating for anarchy, chaos, and those who are not agitating for anarchy and chaos.
Lawyer Suleiman Bashir, however, believes that the proposed law is dangerous as it risks taking the country back to the dark days. Bashir states, and I quote, "The proposed law donates a lot of powers to the police, who shall have bigger say in the exercise of our right." The lawyer adds, and I quote, "In the event this draconian law is passed by the law, it will be reversed by the High Court. It is a waste of time on the part of the legislature." End of quote. First introduced in April 2024, the bill has already sparked months of fierce debate. During public participation, civil society groups, rights agencies, and independent police watchdogs urged MPs to reject the bill, calling it unconstitutional and unnecessary.
Yes. So, mesikia hivyo watu walisema unconstitutional and unnecessary. And so, what do we have here? We have a president who's unpopular. And this president has decided that he needs to change a whole constitution just to safeguard his ego, his fragile ego. And then you have a CS who, the first time he was appointed, wasomekwa Iko Nini wanakumbuka nilisemaga, his work was to make sure that Ruto's dirty work can be done. I remember going as far as saying that his main job was 2027, where I expect the government to unleash the police on its citizens. It's happened before. Happened under Kibaki, under Uhuru, and I expect it to happen under Ruto. But the difference is, under Ruto, there is something called the internet. Internet kuna real-time information. So rigging an election is going to be really hard. So I don't know what the strategy is here. Stop the protests, and what next? Stop political rallies, because the political rallies will still happen. Nagaiza one term, Ruto, Muizi, kwa clubs. Ruto must go, Muizi. These are things that are still going to happen. That's the price of democracy. One of the most hated presidents in America nakuwaga Trump. Trump amefanya ma-protest kibao zimehappen huko states. Like half of the country hates his guts. The other half loves him. and in the process he's never tried to change the American constitution. So that's the same thing that's happening in Kenya. You can't change our constitution just because we've hurt your feelings. Life does not work that way. Life does not work that way. You can get your feelings hurt and the country continues. So let's see. Hii ndio lo wana try kupass, and yeah, so nikimalizia, because I guess sina placard. So what should I say? My protesting using the internet. Ruto must go. Iko Nini.